Hey everybody, welcome back. Wanted to give a nice big hello and welcome to all the new subscribers on the channel. The channel, for those of you that have been following, it has blown up pretty much in the last week or so, ever since I did the incredibly titled "Marriage is a Scam" video, which has gotten, I think, over 100,000 views. And I am hearing from people all over the place. Thank you to all the supporters and all the people that have, been open enough to share their stories and the experiences that they've had, and also the even the people that are angry in the comments that are attacking everybody else. We like you too. So yeah, keep helping me bump up that algorithm, and at least we're out there talking about this stuff, right? I wanted to kind of jump into tonight's topic. I actually drew the idea from some of the comments that had been on the Marriage is a Scam video and the follow-up, and a few other ones where people have brought up the topic of infidelity. A few different people asking me to, see if I would maybe potentially do a video about it or just bring it up in one of the videos. And I thought I'd go ahead and touch on that tonight, since we seem to be talking a whole lot about marriages, relationships, and other things. And in many of the comments, people citing infidelity. Cheating is what was ended their marriage, or is, destroyed their long-term relationships, how easy it is for that sort of thing to happen. And I wanted to first off make my personal statement on it. I'm going to draw from a lot of other people's experiences in the area that have, they just, they understood a lot more about it, knew about it, or people that I've encountered over the years that could kind of give a lot more feedback. So I'm going to draw a lot on that. My personal stance would be that cheating is never acceptable. Infidelity is never acceptable under any circumstance. It is not a negotiable thing at all. There are people that like to, I suppose, challenge that to a certain degree, but to me, I feel it's non-negotiable, because you have to realize certain things about the individual that's deciding to cheat. First of all, it isn't just a violation of a romantic agreement or even marriage. If you're married to the person, you are conning and scamming and essentially defrauding the person that you're doing this to, because they are attempting to work towards a common goal towards you, with you, towards that common goal, and you are undermining that completely. And you are effectively defrauding them, because their time, their effort, their money, everything that they're putting into it is now going to be wasted, because you're planning your exit and not even telling them about it. You're using them. If you are somebody that engages in that sort of thing, hopefully this might reach in and actually sink into a conscience. If you have anything left there, you have to really think about what's going on. And for those of you that are listening that are having this done to you, you have to really think about that somebody that's willing to engage in infidelity, cheat on you, and use you that way, you don't mean any value to them. You have no value to that person. And I can say that because they've already shown you with their actions how they really feel about you. Their words don't carry any weight at this point. They've shown you with their actions how they really feel about you, and decided that you were worth risking losing. They decided it was worth it to risk losing you so they could go chase this other thing on the side. And as harsh as a reality as that is, it's just the plain bitter truth. You just didn't matter. And that is okay when you face that, and then you're able to maybe even get some closure and move on when you realize that you're fighting for something that's fake, and that other person is pretty much already exited. And ultimately, it's really just a sort of a cowardly approach to things, because you're avoiding stepping back out there and obviously getting into a full-on real relationship with the person that you're doing this with. This is in regards to the person who's cheating, because you probably don't believe it's going to work out. Both of you probably realize that the other person's a cheater, and there's a mutual distrust, no honor among thieves, really, when it comes down to it, because both of you were aware that you're both liars. So the person who's doing the cheating is obviously not going to take that type of a risk. Now, that's just my personal opinion. Feel free to add to that in the comments. Jump in there and let me know what you think. And before we go any further, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way we can keep up with all the videos and everything that's going on. I'm going to be posting a lot more content coming up, and I would love to hear your ideas and thoughts on other videos that we could do. So, continuing on with this infidelity, cheating, I thought I'd go into some possible signs that might indicate that you are potentially being cheated on. And before I even get into that, something that you should, something I've actually had recommended to me by someone that actually used to work in counseling with couples, and this was years ago, before a lot of the modern day takes on it were kind of brought into play. Um, Basically, what you have to do is when you're dealing with a relationship, you have to ask yourself, everything that you justify, are you willing to have done back to you? So if you want to justify playing fast and loose with the boundaries, playing fast and loose with who you involve yourself with and how far you push your relationships with other people, right up to the point of maybe emotional cheating, flirting, it's something that ultimately leads to something physical. Are you completely okay with having that done back to you? Like if you flip the situation around, would you be okay watching the person that you're in a relationship with do this to you? And if there's even the slightest hesitation, I personally believe that that is your conscience telling you right then and there that you should absolutely not do that. And I know that there might be people that disagree with that, or that might even say, well, what if I'm just wide open in my relationship and I just don't care? That's a whole nother can of worms. If you just don't care about what your partner is doing and you just don't care about whether or not they're potentially opening up something with somebody else, you might want to really review your relationship. Just a thought. You don't have to take my advice on this. I'm certainly not some sort of qualified expert. I'm mostly leaning on what other people have said. But a lot of my best advice over the years that I've ever gotten was from older couples that were genuinely happy. You could tell that they had still some measure of strong affection, love between the two of them. They had been together like 40, 50, maybe 60 years. I mean, just crazy, crazy links and marriages where they built lives together and they loved each other genuinely. And, you know, in asking them some of these questions, some of the things that they would tell me is you have to keep dating the person. You have to keep dating the person. You have to keep putting everything into what you have in that marriage and that relationship. And this is not speaking to people that obviously are completely off of marriage. And I get why. I totally get why. It is, in this day and age, a losing game. It's not a defense of modern day stuff. It's just a way that if you are in marriage or you're having an approach towards a relationship, a good mindset to have. This is not an encouragement to go out and jump into the situation of marriage, because I mean it's about a 90% bad return. I mean, if you think about the divorce rate, how high it is, how many people are running out and being incentivized to break up their marriage, I'm certainly not encouraging that sort of thing. I'm being very, very careful about that and leaving it to your own judgment, even though you know, really, I think there's people in the comments that want me to literally tell you what to do. You know, that's what good's that going to do? But anyway, people that are older couples that have made it through a lot of these seasons in life and have actually built something together, they understand that you have to keep dating each other, even after you're married or after you're still in a committed relationship. You have to keep doing that. And you have to focus everything on the marriage and not developing potential romances or other things where you're going to be flirting, fooling around and crossing lines with other people all over the place outside of it. And I'm trying to approach this from just a logical, reasonable standpoint, not, you know, trying to dissuade, you know, get away from the emotion aspect of it and, you know, look at it through just a view of sanity, really. A lot of the time when you get your emotions involved, and people that I've heard discuss this topic, they get their emotions involved and they automatically assume that anybody that's challenging their viewpoint, you know, they want to come at you with the who hurt you argument, or clearly this individual is speaking from a place of hurt. And they don't really generally tend to approach it from a viewpoint of logic, reason, and just sanity. That you have to have boundaries that both of you agree to and do not violate at all, or it's not going to work. And ultimately realizing that if you're feeding the romance, you're feeding, you know, because you need to have time together where you go out on dates and you spend that time together. If you're feeding all of that, then it will work. If you starve that, then the whole thing will starve to death. And it's like being shocked that you didn't feed your pet and then it starved to death. It's just insanity. Now, in regards to modern day marriage, I think that for the most part, as I said in the other videos, almost entirely you should avoid it simply because of the way the laws are. It has nothing to do necessarily with the way the relationship should be between a man and a woman, or marriage being some sort of holy institution. Nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what Western society and culture and our legal system has done to it, which is just ruin it. And ultimately, I wanted to kind of dive into some of the things that you might spot that I picked up over the years from people that have, I tried to make some notes on this today that have been noticed by people who have been through situations where they found themselves potentially dealing with infidelity. And I think one of the major things that they noticed was missing blocks of time from the person that they were involved with, that they were in a committed relationship with or married to, that were just unexplained. I'm not talking about, they had some alone time or they want to read or, hang out with some family or, hang around people that, are good friends and good people that build you up and are not trying to undermine your marriage or relationship, which if you're going to be in a marriage and relationship and you want to keep around people that are going to undermine it, that is ridiculous. You're going to lose that battle no matter what. That should be common sense, but since common sense is in such short supply these days, I figured I'd just go ahead and say that. So, but missing blocks of time is a major factor that I've heard from a number of different people. If somebody, and we're talking like inexplicable stuff, like they're vanishing for significant periods of time. And it's not that you have to be, a lot of people in modern day dating and relationships try to treat that like, well, that's just being controlling, wanting to know where they go. To a certain point, no, it's not. You should both be accountable to each other. Accountability is an utterly important thing, and communication is an utterly important thing. If you're acting like you don't want to be accountable and you're defensive about where you've been and what you've done, that's a little bit of a concern there. It doesn't mean that the other person should be grilling you and interrogating you at every different point. And I want to make one thing really clear. This is not in reference to relationships that are abusive. A relationship that's abusive is a totally different deal. None of what we're talking about here really applies to that. That would be a whole separate set of videos. I don't really know much about that. I have to talk to some experts about getting some opinions back on that or something like that, because I don't really know much in the way of the facts and the statistics on that sort of thing, except obviously, if you were in an abusive relationship or you need help, do everything you can to get out, do everything you can to get your kids out of there. Do not try to coexist and live with that. You will regret it for the rest of your life. This video is not about that, so I don't want to hear a bunch of stuff about, well, what about situations with abuse? Situations with abuse, leave. Plain and simple. Figure out, do whatever you've got to do to get out of that situation. When it comes to regular infidelity, where there's no physical abuse, no one's being threatened or anything like that, but you're suspicious about this, you need to have a conversation with the person you're with. Now, 9 times out of 10, and some people would say 10 times out of 10, they're not going to be honest with you because they're already being sneaky about it. The likelihood that they're even going to come to you and just openly admit to you, hey, here's what happened. I crossed a line with somebody. I got involved with them. I was either having a romantic or emotional affair, or even, things got physical. The likelihood of them coming and telling you that is almost non-existent. Some people will have an attack of conscience on occasion and actually come and tell you that. But my personal stance is, even when that sort of thing comes to light, that is generally a non-negotiable thing. Like I stated at the beginning of the video, they've chosen to risk losing you because you didn't matter enough, and their actions have shown you that. Some other warning signs that I've kind of taken note of is not just the missing blocks of time, secretiveness. Are they scared of, like they're sneaking around trying to hide things on the computer, hide things on the phone? Let's face it, most affairs these days seem to start in the realm of online, and if they're having an affair, it's probably on their phone. Just the truth. And it's not really a question of should you go searching through somebody's phone. I personally think that to some degree you should be attempting to have some form of a conversation, and if things get worse, their behavior gets more suspicious, try to be a little bit more direct about it. Don't beat around the bush. Come right at them and tell them that, and have an adult conversation. If they're not capable of having a simple, straight, calm adult conversation about this with you, you probably better reevaluate your relationship. And for those of you that would say, my phone is private, it's my own business, it's, I don't like people knowing what I'm doing. You should really ask yourself, what are you scared of that somebody might see on your phone or your computer? Ask yourself that, because most likely, if it's something, unless the person is abusive that you're in a relationship with, which we've clarified this video is not about that, then you're probably dealing with somebody who has some level of being able to be logical, reasonable, understanding, and that you can communicate with, and that you should be communicating with. If it's getting to a point where, you're dealing with somebody needing to look at somebody's phone, somebody needing to look at their computer, somebody needing to know your whereabouts, you should be having conversations to try to assuage those fears rather than snapping back and getting upset with them. I'm speaking to the people that are on the defensive end. You should really be asking yourself, do I have something on there that I don't want them to see? And if I have something on there that I don't want them to see, maybe I shouldn't be in this relationship anymore, because you can't cheat if you're not in a relationship anymore. You can go ahead and face the world with this new person that you've decided to take all the risk for. Face the world as somebody who's single, but there's no defending being sneaky with your partner. There's no reason to do that. You don't deserve to have that done to you, and you have no right to do that to anybody else. It's sort of a mutual respect thing. And it's funny that you have to spell that out in this day and age, because so many people want to justify that, yet would be very clearly terrified if that was done to them. In fact, I would say one of the counselors that I knew of years ago, I had a conversation with, it was probably like maybe 10 years ago, I think at this point, pointed out that people that tend to cheat and commit adultery, they are the most insecure of all, because they are scared out of their mind that somebody will actually do the same thing to them that they've been doing to people all these years. The thought of receiving the same treatment terrifies them. So at any rate, that's pretty much my video for tonight. I'm going to try and glean some more potential material from some of the stuff that you guys put in the comments on some of the recent videos. There's so many, it's taking a lot for me to get through. And if you want me to cover any specific topics, or, maybe bring some things up, please feel free to mention it in the comments. Let's bring it on out there and get it going and get a conversation going about it. So at any rate, it's really awesome to see everybody tonight, and I really appreciate all of you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again. Have a great night.